Yeah, you can go right ahead. It's very informal.
I was born in Ypsilanti, Michigan, in the hospital.
You can go across that.
In the hospital there.
Okay.
And it was December 25th, 1919. And my family were living in Lansing, but my mother came back home to have me because she had a favorite doctor that lived in Ypsilanti.
So you weren't living in Ypsilanti?
Not at the time I was born.
Oh.
I lived in East Lansing, Michigan until I was 5 years old. But I was born in Ypsilanti in the hospital there.
Do you remember the street? In Ypsilanti, or East Lansing, or Ypsilanti?
I lived in Sunset Lane in East Lansing.
Oh.
Sunset Lane.
And then you moved from Ypsilanti, no, from East Lansing to Ypsilanti.
Yes, and when I was 5 years old.
Okay, and how long did you live in Ypsilanti?
Until I was 15, and we moved to...
What street was that on?
211 Woodard Street.
Oh, that house I went to.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember that.
My telephone number was 90...
Do you remember your telephone number?
No, I don't. I remember my best friends, but I don't remember.
Except, watch this. Ann, phone number in Colorado.
Pyramid 41288 or something like that.
2337, wasn't it? Pyramid 42337? Darn.
I'm sorry, I'm not real good at this.
Okay, so when you were 15, you lived at 211 what?
Woodard Street in Ypsilanti, Michigan
Until
I
you were
was
15. And then what? Then you moved to Morgantown.
I moved to Morgantown and entered my junior year at Morgantown High School.
Where'd you live in Morgantown?
I don't
Probably
remember.
can't remember
I
that.
can't remember the name of the street. We lived on top of the hill, but I don't remember the street.
So that would have been, let's see, 15, 1934.
35 and 36 and 36 and 37. I went to school there. Graduated from Morgantown High School in 1937.
Okay.
And then my dad was transferred to the Columbus area in Ohio, and they chose to live in Delaware, Ohio, because I was about ready to go into college, and they decided that Ohio Wesleyan was the place for me.
Oh, really? That's how they decided on Delaware?
So they decided, they looked at Denison and quite a few places, but it had to be real near Columbus because he was selling road material to the state.
Oh, right.
Asphalt material.
Okay. But you didn't move to 97 Park Avenue.
No, we lived in Washington, on North Washington, in Delaware for about a year. And then we moved up to Oak Hill Avenue for quite a few years. That's where I was when my father and I started going together. They didn't move into the house at 97 Park Avenue until about 41 or 2. By the time we were married, I guess.
Okay.
Amazing how.
Now, are the houses like in Oak Hill Avenue and all that stuff still there? Did you see them when you? Did you?
They're still there.
That's pretty cool.
Well, I think that now the Oak Hill one I'm not really sure about because there are other buildings and we didn't go past the actual building. So I'm not sure about that. 97 Park is there, but it's a total disaster.
When you went to Ohio Wesleyan, did you live on campus or live at
No, I
home?
lived at home
Okay.
all the time.
Okay, well, I'll ask Dad some questions. Thank you, Mother. This is Don P. Herron.
Yes.
Now, all I was trying to get at here now is
Speak up, Sonny.
if you would talk about what your birth date, where were you actually born? You were born in Bloomington?
You want to know?
Yeah, I'll let you talk.
I was born in Bloomington, Illinois on Thanksgiving Day, November 28, 1918. The house was on Leland Street, and I think the number was 308.
Okay. You were born in the hospital or at home? Oh, were you?
308.
What did you say?
She
Just
has
got through telling you that.
his mother
That
had
was
all
Jackie.
her babies at home.
Okay.
I wasn't born, I was
Thank you,
hatched.
Jackie.
You're welcome, Dad.
How long did you live there?
About 6 months, I guess.
Okay.
And
Then where did you go next?
moved back to Cleveland, and the family lived on 70th Street, East 70th Street, Cleveland.
And then after East 70th Street,
They moved to Rosedale,
Wait a minute, does
East
he remember?
Cleveland.
Does he remember the number on East 70th Street?
probably not.
No.
He would say it, I would guess.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I stand corrected.
You don't have to be corrected.
Oh, they moved around quite a bit.
Then you move to Rosedale. This house I've seen. Have I seen the one on Rosedale?
It's a duplex.
I think so. At least it was there at one time.
And from Rosedale, we moved to Marlowe's Avenue, first to 1844.
This is in East Cleveland.
That was all East Cleveland.
Okay,
70th was in Cleveland.
okay.
And I was still 3 or 4 years old when we moved on Marlowe's. And I rode there in the moving van. And the interesting thing was that the street was just in the process of being paved with brick.
Gee,
We lived at 1844, and then a couple of years later we moved to the other side of the duplex to 1848. We lived there a few more years, and then we moved into a single house 2 doors up in 1854. Lovely little house.
This was all on picture.
that's all right. It's mostly for
I know, it's.
trying to remember. It's not.
While we
No,
were there,
I mean we're gonna do it sometime for historical purposes, more officially. But this is for.
while we were there, John D. Rockefeller Jr. gave the city of East Cleveland an acreage at the end of our street. The street's all inclined a little bit up to a crossroad called Terrace Road. On the other side of Terrace Road was a large parcel that John D. Rockefeller gave the city of East Cleveland on which to build a new junior high school, which the city had never had. So they built it, and I was the second class to go through all 3 years of that junior high.
Okay.
And then in 1930, of 1932, we moved to 1830. Oh, yeah, 1830 Windermere in East Cleveland. We lived there until the summer of 38. About just a couple of months before I went to my one and only year at Ohio Wesleyan. We moved into 1854 Wymore in East Cleveland. We lived there until I was drafted into service in March of 41. And sometime in the next year, well, it was during that year of 41, the only people left in the home, in the house, were my mother and grandmother, and they decided to move into an apartment on Nobles.
1826 Noel?
1826 Nobles.
Okay, so now, when you went to Ohio Wesleyan, did you live on campus? At a fraternity house or something? Lived in a rooming house or?
Lived on a house in the upstairs of a house owned by a family, an elderly couple by the name of Ludman. And Dale Ankeny and Ralph Peckinpah and I were roommates in that house, which was on University Avenue.
Right across from our school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we didn't live there then, but that's give you an idea where this place was.
Across the park, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that too now. Now that
Corner
it's-
house.
Okay.
Next to the one they bought?
No, that's not where it was.
Okay, Mom.
Next to the one they bought.
After.
Across the street from, across the park.
The one they bought and they rented it.
Oh, yes, it was the one they bought, next to the one, yes, next to the one. My mother
They
bought
bought
the
that
house next to
house.
Ledman's and kept it for a while and rented it and then sold it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now you guys met when you were at Ohio Wesleyan, and then you.
We met the first week of school. Because Ralph and Dale and I jointly agreed to pledge Phi Gamma Delta, and the Phi Gams had a hayride. And I had a date with a girl from Cleveland. I had not known her until we went there, but I knew she knew about me and I knew about her or something. Marge, her, and wherever we went on the hayride where they had hot dogs and stuff, I met Jo Townsend, future Mrs. Herron, who had a date with her study by the name of Bill Rohr, obviously also a fighter.
Right.
What else? What else, Siobhan?
Now,
We met then, but
nothing happened for a while, but then
One thing happened.
you realized you didn't want to be with
A
Dorothy
few-
Kerr.
A few days later, we met on the campus
Yes.
in front of
library.
a library. And Joe was wearing a polka dot dress, and I got tongue-tied and told her that I thought polka dots were my favorite color.
And that's why you like that song, Polka Dots and Moonbeams.
Okay, so now it's 1941.
Now,
No, I mean that was 1939, right?
38, 39.
Okay.
semester.
Then tell what transpired now to get us to December of 1941. I mean, basically, you went back to Cleveland or something.
I went back to Cleveland and tried to make it a second year, transferred to Western Reserve. Worked in the East Cleveland Library. I couldn't even swing that. I didn't have enough money. So that, coupled with the fact that it was obvious that Jim and Charlotte were delaying getting married until I got finished with school, I decided that the two things together was obvious. I should give it up. I wasn't able to make the grade financially. That was affecting my studies. So all in all, right after Christmas, just before finals, I dropped out on a Friday and went out to the Cleveland airport and hooked up with a fellow that Brother Keith knew by the name of Cap Miller, and he was a sales director for Cleveland for Pennsylvania Central Airlines, and I told him I needed a job and was available, and he told me that I was in luck as far as the company was concerned because the chief of station operations was in visiting him, a guy by the name of Sullivan. And so,
Okay.
had an interview with Sullivan, and that went favorably, and Saturday morning while I was working at the library, got a phone call, and it was Sullivan asking me if I could report for work the next morning, Sunday morning at Akron. So I informed the people at the library that I was leaving, and Jim and Charlotte, mother drove me down to to Akron, and I went to work. I worked there as a passenger agent until, in the meantime, I had visited Wesleyan a couple of times, and on one occasion learned that Joe and Bill were no longer an item.
Oh.
And so, after I went to work with PCA, I started dating her, driving back and forth to
Oh.
Delaware.
Hmm.
So then I knew that I would like United Airlines better. I resigned from PCA, went to work, waited, got a job about a month later at United. Worked for them until my draft number came up, and I was in very early in the draft. I went in on March 17th, 1941.
Okay. Now let me ask you something, Mother. What were you doing in between when he left Wesleyan after the first year and when you and Bill Rohr were no longer an item?
Well, we were an item until Bill Rohr graduated in 1940.
Okay.
1940. And things had been falling apart up to that point anyway, as far as he was concerned. He was an athlete, and that was his life. There were a lot of other things I was interested in. His family was kind of very, very different than mine, that sort of thing. So we broke up. So then, I guess we didn't really start dating in the summer. Started dating then in the fall.
Fall of 1940?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fall of 1940. And dated all through that time very, very seriously. In fact, I went up to your house for Christmas or around
Couple
Christmas
times.
or something when you lived on Wymore, and just crazy about his family, all of them, as you might imagine.
I almost lost her as a friend, as a sweetheart, everything else. Because I took her flying on one of the worst days on Sunday as you could expect. It snowed, snow all over the place, gray, cold.
Icy.
She'd never
very
been up.
icy.
Took her up, and we hardly were off the ground when she said, "Can we go back?" We did. She got sick.
Do you want me to mention anything about the interim period where we didn't?
Why should we?
Well, I mean, I'm not talking about your personal life, but I mean, your life, like Bill Rohr. I'm just talking about you.
Well, all I'm
You
saying is
finished
from
college.
the time he went into the service until the next fall, we had actually broken up.
You and Dad?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because I think
I got weak in her knees.
You did?
Yeah, there was something about it. I guess he couldn't handle the whole situation very well. So that was a real tough time for me. All that spring, I dated a lot of different people. I was very vulnerable, and all through the summer, the same way. Then I got a job teaching in Maumee after I graduated in 1941.
Maumee what?
Maumee, Ohio, in
Wow.
the suburb of
Toledo.
Toledo, or maybe not a suburb, but a small town near Toledo.
Okay.
Teaching fourth grade. I mean, fourth grade, second grade. And I don't know, did we start writing it? I don't know what happened in between there at all. I can't even remember. All I know is I dated this boy from Toledo a lot. Until almost the time you asked me to marry you. And I felt real guilty because I just went off and married him and didn't tell
I
him
wrote
that.
to you. Wrote to you. I flew up with, there were 2 airplanes from Maxwell that flew up to Columbus. Eddie Trekker was flying one of them, and I was riding along. And I can't remember now for sure, but I got from Columbus Airport to Delaware. So I could, oh, I know. I'd gotten in touch with you and we had agreed to meet in Columbus, because you were there with some girls,
Gee, that's out of my memory.
young girls. I think maybe they were from Maumee or something. In your car, you were taking them back to Maumee.
Yeah, maybe, because they both lived in Columbus, these two girls that I taught with, yeah.
So we had a chance to see each other for a brief spell. Then I went on up to Delaware to stay at the fraternity house that night. Also went over and saw your mother and told her all about everything. And then flew back and then we started corresponding. Then things got serious again. We reached a point where we sort of talked or wrote both about the idea of working or probably wouldn't wait for the war to end.
Okay.
So then on the morning of December 7th, when I found out what happened, I waited until after early afternoon and called and got hold of your mother. She didn't know about the Pearl Harbor. I had to explain
All
that.
day Sunday sleeping as I usually
Told her all about that. And I proposed. She said she'd think it over and consider all the ramifications and arrangements and everything else. And I was to call back, I guess, the next day, which I did. We settled on the date of Christmas Eve because she would get 2 weeks vacation from school, come down on the train.
Okay. Just one more thing that I want, just in quick succession. Where did you live up until you moved to Lynn?
During the war, right?
No, from the time you got married, all the places you lived up until you moved to Cleveland, you know, where I was born. My mind is gone
Till we
blank.
lived until after the
Lyndhurst.
war and we settled in Cleveland.
Until after, yeah.
After,
Well,
You can do it.
Well, you can fill in if I need help. We lived in Montgomery, Alabama, because that's where we were married and that's where he was still stationed for
I was in Maxwell Field.
Okay.
Several months. And then he was transferred, I don't remember what month, but it was, I know we spent Easter Sunday in,
I think it was March '42.
Valdosta, Georgia, where he was stationed at Moody Field.
Moody Field was a new twin-engine advanced training school. And I'd been promoted and made the operations chief, flight operations
Well, he doesn't probably, I don't know if he cares about all that
at
thing.
Moody Field.
The,
That's why we were transferred.
How long in Valdosta?
Well, we were in Valdosta until he then applied for cadets because the Allens were encouraging him
Oh, right.
to do it. So he did apply for cadets and he got his appointment, which started in September of
42.
42. And we went to Kelly Field in San Antonio, lived there for 9 weeks. And we moved to,
We weren't together, living together, because I, of course, had to be on the coast. Your mother lived in apartments or rooms or whatever she could.
usually with another wife.
Yeah.
Then we moved to Vernon,
Vernon, Texas.
Texas. Same kind of a deal, 9
9
weeks. Basic training. I mean primary training. Then we moved to
Enid, Oklahoma.
Enid, Oklahoma.
Basic
9 weeks.
training.
advanced training in Tampa, Texas, where he graduated in June of 1943.
Okay.
And I was fortunately, through the help of the United Airlines official who was a colonel in the office of the chief of staff of the Air Corps, I got an assignment to the Air Transport Command, the only one in my whole class. And so we went home on leave and then reported in at Billy Mitchell Field, Milwaukee. In the meantime, your mother kept getting sick and not getting over it. So she left Milwaukee and went home and discovered that Ann was on the way.
Okay.
That was in,
Fall of 43.
well, it was in the summer.
Summer.
Summer of really of 43.
June.
Okay.
And then, let's see,
So then we went to Atlanta, Georgia. And all the time I was there for 6 months, assigned to a special transport training program under Eastern Airlines. Eastern Airlines captains were doing the teaching. Terrific experience, and we lived in a duplex there,
a little town called Peaceville, Georgia, right?
I've seen that.
right next to the runway.
Okay.
And then, when he was assigned to, whatever it was,
Rosecrans Field in St. Joe, Missouri for
and I left and went home,
So that Ann was born in
Delaware.
Delaware.
March.
But went to Rosecrans Field, St. Joe. She went home. I was there long enough to go through all the recheck procedures and the aircraft that were there, and then was assigned to the 6th Ferrying Group in Long Beach. It was at Long Beach when I got the call from other Townsend that Ann had been born. I was currently delivering A-20s, and so I rushed into operations as soon as the base opened, and a friend of mine who was the flight operations officer for our squadron lined me up with an A-20 to take to Newark, which enabled me to stop on the way at Columbus and get up to Delaware to see Jo and Ann, and then I went on and delivered that.
Okay, now we got to get going. So after, no, you're living in Delaware
Yeah,
and you're in Long Beach. Now, did you go out to Long Beach then, or
I
what?
went out to Palm Springs for 2
I
weeks.
got transferred over to Palm Springs, and while I was there, she came out with her mother and the baby.
Okay.
And after I'd just gotten there, he got his orders to go to Reno to get training to go overseas.
Okay.
And so we just came right back home.
So we had about a week together.
Okay.
And then,
Then the war.
in the war, and when he came back from the war, we lived in Dayton. So he was still in the service until he was separated from the service in the spring of 1946.
March.
And we lived there for about 4 months. And then we moved to Cleveland and lived with his mom in the apartment for a year while our house was being built.
Which was the one on